Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. There's a lot we're going to be discussing. First of all, a tour has been announced of Pakistan men and women's team. Both are going to be touring England in an extensive tour that has been announced in 2024. The men's team is due to play 4 T20 international, while the women's team will play 3 T20 internationals and 3 one-day internationals, which are part of this tour on your screens right now as well. So it's great news. In May 2024, this tour will take place. And it's interesting because I think once you're playing in England, it gets a bit special. Although I would have loved to see some red ball cricket as well, but so far this is just a white ball tour that we will be talking about. Then of course we move on to the ICC World Cup qualifiers, where Sri Lanka have secured a spot in the World Cup 2023 to be held in India. Zimbabwe are up against Scotland. Scotland have set a target of 235 runs for Zimbabwe. Now the points table is a bit funny right now. Why I say funny is that we know Sri Lanka has qualified, Zimbabwe is near qualification, but Scotland still have 2 games remaining for them. So if they win 2 of them, then it basically what happens is that on the points table you will see a bit of a jumble that takes place. If I talk about the points table particularly, Sri Lanka, they've played 4 games, they're on 8 points. Zimbabwe's played 4 games, they're on 6 points. So if Zimbabwe win this one, they go to 8 points as well. But if Scotland win this one, in 4 games, they go to 6 points. So Scotland and Zimbabwe become equal on points. But then again, both of them do look forward to qualification, because Scotland still have 1 more game remaining. Zimbabwe will be completing their games once they play their 5 games as well. So it's interesting, but so far action live on your screens. You can watch it on PTV Sports. They're 4 down, Zimbabwe chasing this target of 235 runs. They've been superb throughout. If you talk about this tournament, especially I think Sean Williams, absolutely superb, back-to-back hundreds. Hassan Raza, if you talk about him, Sikandar Raza, beg your pardon, Sikandar Raza has been absolutely terrific. I think this new age of Sikandar Raza as far as this aggressive cricket is concerned, and he's still at the crease with Ryan Burr, 71 for 4 in 15 overs, target of 235 runs, another 164 runs required on 210 deliveries. So Sikandar Raza, I think a lot of that credit goes to the PSL as well, if I'm not wrong, because the way he explored his power hitting capabilities in that domain is something impressive. Then again I want a couple of words said on the exclusion of West Indies from the World Cup as well. There's been a lot said. Ian Bishop also made some comments. Emotions were high as well. Disappointment was there. He said you can change the entire setup, but things are not changing. West Indies have not qualified for the World Cup. So I think we got to discuss this in detail and explore the seriousness of this matter as well, because not every day you find West Indies not qualifying for a white ball format of an ICC tournament. So I think this is very special that we need to explore this. Then of course you move on to some mental health concerns and the importance of mental health amongst athletes as well. Many of them are struggling with depression. Just recently we had tragic news that Pakistan's young snooker player Majid Ali committed suicide. He was part of the under-21 snooker championship as well. He was very disappointed, had a lot of pressure as far as his selection and qualification was concerned. I don't know whether problems were there with the Pakistan Snooker Federation or internationally there was something, we don't know. But all these pressures combined have led to a young man saying goodbye to his life. So certainly this is something that all of us together need to explore the causes. Then what can we do to prevent such incidents? I think in our part of the world, mental health is not considered that much of a problem. So I think just to discuss this, to talk about this, is something that, a taboo needs to be eliminated. So we'll talk about that as well in detail on the show. So time now to introduce our guests. First of all, starting our discussion on cricket in studios, we've been joined by cricket commentator, broadcaster, presenter, and our cricket expert, K. Asif Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum assalam, Ahmed. I'm very well, thank you.
Great to have you on the show. We've also been joined by cricket expert, somebody who analyzes the game, especially when you talk about Test cricket recently happening and all the controversy surrounding it. He's been up to date with that as well. Rizwan Haider joins us. Assalamu alaikum, Rizwan. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed.
Great to have you on the show. Now, Asif, particularly this tour to England has been announced. It's always special when Pakistan is playing in England. 4 T20s for the men's team, but I'm glad that the women's team has got 3 ODIs with 3 T20s as well.
Well, that's really important. You know, right before the ICC T20 World Cup, if Pakistan is playing there in England against England, a good opportunity to get up and to prepare yourself for the T20 World Cup. You know that England toured to Pakistan in the leadership of Moeen Ali. Pakistan played 7 T20s against England, and England have won that series 4-3. And that was a really big statement from the captain of England. That Moeen Ali said that we could have won 6-1 against Pakistan this series. That much the confidence of England team. I think if you see that the Pakistan team, if they will travel to England right before the T20 World Cup and they'll play 4 T20s, and Pakistan Cricket Board have announced that Pakistan will play against Netherlands and Ireland. They haven't announced the schedule, the dates, but the dates against England, it's now clear, each and everything. So Pakistan team will be in clear position that they'll be playing against England, a very strong T20 side. They're the world champions and they've beaten Pakistan in the final in Australia last year. So I think that a very, very crucial series in the terms when we talk about the preparation of T20 World Cup.
Definitely. Rizwan, you agree, because England is that one team you want to play right before a T20 World Cup, especially with their mentality now in white ball cricket.
I think that their mentality is aggression. They're very, very positive. They play aggressive cricket. They are the world champions. So end of the day, any cricket that we get abroad, especially in English conditions, of course, it's not going to help with the conditions, because the conditions in the United States are going to be different. But, playing the team, playing their 11, as Asif mentioned, that England played Pakistan just before the World Cup in the last T20 World Cup. So it's always a big help. As long as you do changes, you do experimentation. If you keep on playing the same 11, regardless of winning or losing, then there's no point. But that's where Pakistan has been lacking in the previous instances, where we don't practice. The instance Asif mentioned, when England beat Pakistan, in Pakistan, Moeen Ali was the captain. England experimented with their formats, with their playing 11s. Pakistan did not. And that's where we found out that Pakistan suffered and England went on to become world champions. So I'd rather, do experimentation.
But it's funny, isn't it, Rizwan? Because that part of the strategy for England works in white ball cricket. But when they try to implement something similar in test cricket, it goes haywire.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the Ashes, I'm sorry, but baseball has been good, but it's against the mediocre teams. It's very, very good. Against the grit and determination and the confidence, England just don't have the firepower or the experience to play Australia with that sort of cricket. That's what, Asif, what do you think?
Yes, Asif, you've been a big fan of England's white ball campaign, but when you talk about red ball cricket, it becomes a bit difficult for England.
Well, as you know that Rizwan mentioned that when you're playing against Australia, Australia is a perfect side. Talk about their batting, talk about their bowling, fielding, each and everything. Though that I didn't like their aptitude, their sportsman spirit. It's been always, under fire, under criticism, that the way Alex Carey behaved, or right before that, Mitchell Starc, he has taken a catch and clearly it was touched on the ground, and even then he was so happy, jubilation, and he didn't bother, and even he didn't ask to his captain to tell the third umpire, because I'm not sure either. I have taken it.
But as a commentator, you saw that incident, didn't you? I'm seeing this as a perspective of a viewer, just a fan of cricket. My first impression of Mitchell Starc's facial expression told me that he hasn't taken this catch. And what about you as a commentator?
As a commentator, and of course that in the first look, or if you see the naked eye, that when Mitchell Starc has taken that catch, he was not sure 100%, and his facial expression was either it has taken clearly or not. But in the jubilation, when he saw that the batter is going towards the dugout, towards the dressing room, he didn't bother to ask to his captain, please ask to the third umpire, to the TV umpire to confirm it. I think do you remember that what happened, as I was discussing with you yesterday, that what happened with Javed Miandad, Dennis Lillee. So Australians are the first team in the history of cricket, they started sledging. We love their cricket, we love their passion, we love their energy, each and everything. But when we talk about that, the sportsman spirit, sorry.
But you got to agree, Javed Bhai gave a great answer to that sledging. We all love that video. I think if you go through the times of history, two incidents. One with Javed Bhai, just hurling his bat right after this incident, and one where he's seen jumping bananas because of what the wicketkeeper had been doing all along. I think these two incidents, Asif, are really a highlight of when you talk about that particular rivalry in cricket.
See, when we talk about that, the Javed Miandad, the legend, living legend, when he was jumping, he was Kiran More, he was just, shouting behind the stumps. Even if you talk to Javed Bhai, he will tell you that. Even if I'm playing with the straight bat and it's middling, and he's just shouting, "Ah, what's that?" So that's why I started jumping there. Do you remember that what happened with Mitchell Johnson and Karan Pollard? Even Karan Pollard thrown his bat against Mitchell Johnson. Why? Because he was showing his aggression. What does it mean? Even late Shane Bond, he has just gone with, a crosstalk with Chris Gale, and what happened there in Big Bash League. I think Australian, please calm down. Yes, you guys are really good cricket, but see what happened with Alex Carey. I think that in school days, I do remember that we were pretty much curious that if a batter is not informing to the leg umpire, to the side umpire, that I'm going to the pitch, and if he's not informing, we used to run and we just try to run out that batter.
But
now,
yes,
I just want to add that the Australians may be, a bit short on sportsman spirit, but they're excellent team. They're excellent cricketers. They've got the backup. They've got, in every format of the game, they're very, very good. And England or any other team can't hide behind the fact that, one decision was not in their favor.
But for somebody who's played,
it's not a debate. It's not a debate
Yes.
that Australia is a very good team.
Absolutely.
It's not a debate. The debate is sportsman spirit.
But Rizwan, for somebody who's played a lot of club cricket in England, you shouldn't be saying that. You should be focused more on the English side.
I am. But, end of the fact, if you look at Australia for the last 20 years, they've been beating everybody left, right and centre, be it West Indies, India, England or any other team, Pakistan as well. Pakistan hasn't beaten them in a test match in Australia since 1996 or 1994.
Does it justify their arrogance?
No, we're not talking about that.
Does it justify their
I'm
arrogance?
just saying overall they're a brilliant team.
Yes,
end of story. And they shouldn't be doing these things.
Yeah, that's right. Now you have completed your sentence.
But look, I will say this one thing, that it could have been avoided. There was an incident shared on social media yesterday as well of Ian Bell controversy, similar against India, where Mahendra Singh Dhoni had recalled him back after lunch when he was given out by the third umpire as well. So certainly, in the world of cricket, where you have incidents like these, isolated incidents, you've got great examples of sportsman spirit as well throughout the world.
Yeah, can I say something? What happened with Muralidharan and Kumara Sangakkara, what Brendan McCullum did 16 years past, and he has apologized in a public meeting, and Kumara Sangakkara was present there. He said that I apologize what happened, because that was the same case of the run out. What happened with the Azhar Ali? Come on. See, if you are taking wickets like this, and if you are saying that we are just here for winning, and we do not talk about and we do not care about sportsman spirit, then of course that we don't like it.
Absolutely. So coming back to Pakistan's tour of England, Rizwan, how important does this tour become for a couple of people? Because we understand the T20, our primary category is picking players from the PSL. But playing in England in those sort of conditions is a different ballgame. Are you also of the opinion that now we must move on? I keep asking you this again and again. We move on to specialized players for specialized formats.
That's always been the case for me. I've always bidded that, you have to have specialists for test cricket, you have to have specialists for one days, and you have to have specialists for T20 cricket. There are one or two players who can, adjust to all formats, but you can't have a nucleus of 7 or 8 players because there's so much cricket going on that fatigue becomes a factor. You've seen Shaheen Afridi is a prime example, playing county cricket, playing PSLs, playing leagues all over the world. And when it comes to test cricket, you feel that he hasn't just got the stamina. Even in T20, it's a 4-over spell, but the first 2 overs are very good. When he comes back in the 17th and the 19th over, he's gone for runs. He's not been effective even in the game in England last week, where he took 4 wickets in the very first over. His team went on to lose the game. So that's finishing is required. You need to have a limited amount of cricket where your body can take it. With his physique, his height, it's just not possible to play 8 test matches, 15 one-day internationals and 20
altogether
T20 cricket.
Well, Asif, this is very important. 2 of the particular things, or for me it's 3 when it came to red ball, but for limited overs cricket, I would say 2 things that Pakistan really need to immediately work upon. One is a depth bowler. We need that art, somebody who can do that again, what Umar Gul used to do for Pakistan. And secondly, if you take hold of this entire situation, we're still missing a proper all-rounder in T20 cricket.
That's right. When we talk about the proper death bowler, I mean, then you should talk about Naseem Shah, that he is improving himself. But on the other side, Shaheen Shah Afridi is working on his Yorkers. Important thing is where Rizwan is discussing right now that you would have to be really sure about yourself that either you'll play red ball cricket, ODIs, T20. You'd have to be really strict with your plan. You don't have any plan. I see the Pakistan Cricket Board is not working on that, and that's why Pakistan is facing these kind of problems, these injuries, and especially with the fast bowlers. A fast bowler like Shaheen Shah Afridi, you know that he's perfect for each format. Either it's T20, ODIs, or Test. But I think that Pakistan require if Shaheen Shah Afridi is playing a longer format like Test match and ODIs, then we should avoid him to play, T20 matches. But I think overall, if you talk about that, we got some good fast bowlers like in the shape of Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris, Naseem Shah, Wasim Jr.,
Zaman Khan,
Ehsanullah. You know that though we are still missing and we don't know that where is Musa. And
I know where he's playing. He's playing club cricket in F11 these days. I've seen him. Yeah, he's opening the innings for his club cricket team.
Is he a Test cricketer, right?
Yes,
please correct
absolutely.
me.
You made him play his very first campaign in Australia as a fast bowler.
So the issue is that the Pakistan Cricket Board, I can't say anything, that still disturbance is there. Either who is the chairman, still there is a fight going on. Just talk about Pakistan.
Well, let's be honest, a needless argument over there. Needless. We all say, and I really respect the fact that Asif has been one of those individuals who has been saying this 1,000 times that, not before the World Cup, not before the World Cup. These are certain things that we need to avoid. Don't be Rizwan. Right before the World Cup, we're still not sure of what.
I think Ramiz Raja came in before the 2021 World Cup, and he went after the 22 World Cup. Consistency is required. Until and unless you have consistency, you need to have a management which knows what direction it wants to go in. It can't be 3 months this, and it has to be depoliticized. You can't have a political, management over who becomes the chairman.
Something that's practiced around the world. I think it's not a model that we're creating.
Well, that's the reason Pakistan was banned from FIFA for so many number of years.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason athletics has gone bad, and that's the reason hockey has gone bad, because it's all politics. So that needs to be taken out of sports.
Out of sports indeed as well. And now we take your focus to the World Cup qualifiers, where Zimbabwe is chasing a target of 235 runs against Scotland. A very important game, because Zimbabwe win this one, then the World Cup qualification is pretty much sealed. But if Scotland manage to do something over here and they win their last game, then they've got a chance to qualify. And Sri Lanka is already qualified. If you want to watch the action live of these qualifiers, you can tune into PTV Sports, where you can watch the action in HD. But an impressive tournament so far, Asif, Super 6. I think the first focus definitely comes out to the fact that the West Indies is not part of the World Cup.
Well, of course that we had a lot of discussion on this, that if West Indies is not in the World Cup, that definitely we won't enjoy these moments, because West Indies remain a very big side. They got several they produce several stars for the world cricket, and if you talk about Brian Lara, Sir Vivian Richard, but this time if they're not in the World Cup, of course that credit goes to these teams. Associate teams, they're playing really good cricket. Talk about Netherlands, especially Scotland, the way they are playing. Zimbabwe, though you know that Zimbabwe remain a test side as well, a very good test side as well. Talk about the Andy Flower, Grant Flower, Heath Streak. They were really good players. And then Sri Lanka, of course, that Sri Lanka is a top-notch side, and they have already qualified. Scotland is playing nicely, and if you see the strategy of the ODI, which is really nice, that they just managed to go for the small partnerships. This is really important. Scoring and managing somewhere 35 runs each player, if adding into the total. And then their bowlers.
You love Scotland. I think majority of their power hitting runs have come down the ground. So you are going to love that approach.
It's all about cricket. I've spoken to Javed Bhai, that the great Javed Miadad, and he said that if you're not playing in V, I don't want to watch you. If you're playing already only slog shot as shots, horizontal shots, then fine. I don't watch you even if you're scoring 130 balls. What does it mean that this cricket, this cricket with the straight bat, you always love, and this is called, a book cricket, a bookish cricket, Jeffrey Bycott cricket. Even England is changing that, but still we are, in T20 or either it's T20 ODIs, you should play with the straight bat. This is what Scotland is doing, and that's why they're winning, and that's why they're producing good results.
I think two things in modern day cricket: play with a straight bat and stay in your crease. That's very important on modern day, I think, stage of cricket. Make sure that you stay in the crease even when it's an over, of the final ball of the over as well. But Rizwan, credit to Sri Lanka. They've been superb. I wouldn't have imagined them playing a qualifier, but that's how the system goes. But Zimbabwe is another team that has impressed us. It's very unfortunate. We saw this coming, what happened with the West Indies.
Well, Ahmed, I'm very, very disappointed in you. You missed out a very important factor, which I'll come to later.
Yes.
Zimbabwe and Scotland are playing. Zimbabwe is now down 5 wickets, so need another 141 runs. And it's going to be very, very difficult. And that credit goes to Scotland. But first of all, the reason Sri Lanka and West Indies and Zimbabwe are playing, at least one of them should have been directly involved, had it not been for Afghanistan. So credit to Afghanistan, they've qualified automatically. The team that you missed out on, Ahmed, is Netherlands. Netherlands play Scotland in the next game. If Scotland win today, on run rate they go over Zimbabwe.
Yes.
But if Netherlands beat Scotland, all three teams will be on level points, on 6 points, and Netherlands will have a target in mind that they can qualify for the World Cup. So it could be an upset with Netherlands getting there instead of Scotland or Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe not qualifying is another upset. Scotland, all credit to Scotland and Netherlands, because upsetting West Indies is no joke. Of course, West Indies cricket has been on the decline for the last 10-15 years since Bishop and Ambrose was the bowling attack finished. But still, one cannot imagine playing a World Cup with West Indies.
But Rizwan, let's explore this further. Where does the problem really lie? Because initially it was the relationship between the board and the players. Then eventually it came down to the money aspect. There are many things that have been said. Then poor fielding in this tournament particularly.
I think basically the biggest problem is politics. West Indies is not a country. West Indies is islands, about 10, 12 islands, Leeward Islands, Antigua, Jamaica, Barbados. So every country has their own prime minister. And the cricket board has done really, really well in merging all of them and into a squad of players. And in the 50s, 60s, 70s, probably commercialization was not a factor. Now that it is, one, the people are getting options of going to the United States, playing NBA, basketball, baseball. The other thing is, because of commercialization in cricket, everybody wants their players pitching in. Politics comes in, you want 3 players from Leeward Islands, somebody from Antigua wants their players in. So that's the reason their first class structure has not been very, very stable over the last years. Because of money, there are advantages of having extra money like Indian Cricket Board, but there are disadvantages as well, and that's the problem with West Indies cricket in my opinion.
Asif, would you like to explore this further? Because certain problems were there, but this time they brought in the ever so ceremonial Darren Sammy to take over the reins as far as the team was concerned. Now, there is no doubt what Rizwan said is 110% true of the politics between these cricketing nations that combine to form a West Indies cricket team. But then again, when you've got a bunch of players that you need to groom in a tournament as a coach or as a mentor, things get different. The way they've been fielding, batting or bowling has been beyond what I can understand.
Well, question need to be asked that a team where all the players, they're performing so well in the international leagues, in the franchise cricket, either it's Caribbean Premier League, IPL, PSL, Big Bash, anywhere in the world, BPL, and what's the reason that they're not performing well for their country? So the answer, I think Rizwan has given the answer. This is the politics. They have their own interests. They're not, I've just spoken to Sana Mir, a commentator and a former player of Pakistan. She said that the financial aspects is a big problem there in because the boards and the governments, they're not directly providing them funds and facilities if this is the question, then of course that your team cannot perform. Because if you see that their players are performing so well all over the world in the international leagues, but if they are not performing well for their own country, then of course there's the government and the board is responsible for that.
But how do you see this now, particularly if I was to ask you, Sri Lanka's qualified, who's going to be that other team?
I think that still match is on between Scotland and Zimbabwe. Scotland is playing so nicely, but still I think that the way Zimbabwe played throughout this ICC qualifier, I'm still hoping that this Zimbabwe will be the second team.
Well, that is a good hope. And if you talk about the game, they still require 128 runs on 173 deliveries. Ryan Burl is still at the crease, but they've got the prize wicket of Sikandar Raza. Rizwan, Zimbabwe more likely or Scotland?
No,
or Netherlands?
Scotland now, and it could be anybody's game between Scotland and Netherlands.
And the Netherlands. Interesting comment there. But thank you very much, Ki Asif and Rizwan Haider, for joining us on Sports Extra. On that note, we'll take a very short break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.